So good morning, everybody. So I'm really happy. My name is Jennifer Ann Dooling. So I work at the shelter Re-Source in Chateauguay. I've been there since 16 years. So I'm actually part of the furniture now. So yes, I'm really happy. We came last year to have a big formation training about all the coercive control. So we're here this morning to the community meeting, so we're really excited, and I'm going to let my colleague present herself.
Yes, hi, my name is Tania Howes. I've worked at Re-Source for a little over 5 years now. So it's a very rewarding job, and we like to be here and to inform the community and to let people know what's going on and what different forms of violence actually are.
So the title is really about seeing what's a couple carol and also, or is it domestic violence, and we're going to learn all about the coercive control also, because it's a new word that we actually hear more and more, and it's really important for us to let you know, is it a new form of violence, is it a new manifestation of violence, or it's a part of domestic violence since years. So it is. So we're going to go into that today. I'm just going to make sure it works. Sometimes technology. I think. Okay, so our job, so we actually present ourselves already, but we're a preventionist, a specialist in domestic violence at the shelter. And I'm really excited that my colleague is here with me this morning. So what is Re-Source? Does somebody know about Re-Source, the shelter? And I'm not going to see Jade because I know she knows. No? So nobody knows about Re-Source? You? Okay. Do you work also at Le Calax? Oh, okay, good. So they are partners of Re-Source for sure. So Re-Source is a shelter for a victim and also the victim of domestic violence, so the women, but also the children of the women who are in that type of dynamic. We're in Chateauguay, but we really actually cover all the territory of from Napierville, Saint-Constant, La Prairie, here. So we're really all over the place, and a woman who actually needs some help. It doesn't matter finally where she comes from, okay? We're just here to help her. So we also have, and we're going to go through the different services that we gave, but we also have the accommodation, so they can come in our shelter, but also they can use the helpline, external services. So we're going to go into the different shelter. We have phase 1 and also phase 2 at Re-Source, and both of the accommodations are in Chateauguay.
So our mission as a shelter is basically offering help to women and children who are in a situation of domestic violence, and it empowers them to take back that control that they've lost within the relationship. So basically respecting each other's pace, their different needs, and accommodating our services to each and every individual family.
Yeah, and you're going to see that we're going to really say a few times, it's really important for all the workers at Re-Source to respect the pace of the woman, because sometimes it's really hard and there's really a lot of obstacle for her to move on and out of the relationship. If we just think about the children, a lot of women will say, well, I've stayed in that relation because, you know, it's a way of protecting my children, dealing with all that, you know, violence and abuse they were into. So sometimes it takes time and preparation for them to move on, but it's really important for us to respect that rhythm. And also we accept all individuals who actually identify themselves as a woman.
Yeah, and statistically, it takes 7 to 8 times of leaving a relationship to actually get yourself out of relationship. So we understand that maybe this is your first time, maybe this is, you're just coming for information, you don't necessarily want to completely get out of this relationship. So we go with what the woman needs as opposed to what we feel is best for them.
Exactly. And so, what do we offer? So different actually services. We do offer in all our services confidentiality, security, and also all our services are free. For the accommodation phase 1, it's 24/7, so there's always workers in the house to make sure that the helpline is, that we are responding to the hotline or helpline? Both of them, I think. Yeah. I'm sorry, sometimes my English is really bad because I'm searching I speak Spanish too and French, so sometimes I'm mixing up all my language, but so we actually give a lot of support. It can be legal support, social. We go with the woman to the medical services, also to the court. Assistant, it can be also for, to the custody of the children, to the police station with them, so they can actually fill down their report. The women who are actually using our services don't need to go to the police station to use our services, so it's really, like we said, at their pace, and if they don't want to go through that, to all the legal system and everything, it's fine. I mean, we really respect that. So we also inform the population, our partners, everyone, professional, police, services, social services, and also the women who are going through that type of dynamic.
Yes, so what is our phase 1? So basically it's short-term accommodations. So each family has their own room. We have 7 rooms available at our first stage. 5 of them are family rooms, another 2 are single women rooms. We also welcome the physical and emotional safety in the living environment. So we have cameras all over the place, not inside, outside. We also ensure surveillance of those cameras. And we want the people who come to our shelter to feel safe, to feel that they can say and do what they'd like, as opposed to when they were in the relationship where control was everything.
Exactly, and a lot of people think that a shelter is like a prison. The women don't actually have the right to go out or have their normally lifestyle. So no, it's wrong. There's no how do you say that? Like barriers, barriers.
Yeah, like
in the windows. It's really a house, bungalow. So people are free to go in and out. And it's really hard for a woman actually to leave the dynamic, the relation, and it's really important, and we will see later on. We have to think about the fact that he was not always like that. We have to understand that he's probably the father of the children or children. He's the one sharing her life with her every single day. So it's really something that we really want people to know, that it's really hard sometimes to take a step and move on.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see all the different services separately before diving in our subject to understand better the coercive control and the domestic violence dynamic. So the helpline obviously is 24/7 and 7 days a week, so we never stop, and actually it never stop ringing the phone. So it's sometimes professional, like we were saying, victims, neighbors of a victim, people who want to understand what they're going through, the victim actually is going through. So the main point, it's actually the main point of the entry of all our services. So if they want accommodation, external services, or just information, or validate that they are in that type of dynamic, they have to actually pass by the helpline. So obviously we welcome the women, support them, inform them, and we actually refer to different partners that we have. So like we were telling early on, le CADAX, le CAVAX, the police officers. So we really work with all our partners, because it's not something that we can do, that she can do on her own. So it's important for her to feel safe and feel like she's understand that all the different professionals that can help her grow and move on that.
Yeah, and the helpline is also good for professionals as well. So if you have questions, you're not sure, you maybe have a client that you're questioning how to go about speaking to them. We can also do meetings together. So if ever you have someone who you're scared that maybe is going through something and you're not really sure how to approach it, you can contact us and we can have a meeting together to kind of move along the process or let her know kind of what she's going through.
Yeah, and she feel like believed also. When 2-3 professional knows about her story, she feels safe and she feels like she's support and she's not alone going through that. So it's really helpful.
Yeah, so our accommodations. So it's a short stay, support with procedures. Like I said, 5 rooms, 2 with only 1 woman. It's shared space, it's communal space, so there's a big kitchen, shared dining room, there's outdoor balcony, and also there's a whole play yard for all of the kids. So it's very warming, you know, it's very nice, a place where you wouldn't think you would want to go. Like most women will think like, oh, it's this little like shabby shack, you know, and I'm gonna have to kind of downgrade from, you know, whatever I was living through. But it's not. It's very heartwarming, it's very clean. And everyone kind of works together to help each other out. So because it's communal living, all of the women will kind of, you know, make little friendships, help each other out with the kids. And that's also a way to kind of process what they've been going through, see that there's other people that can help you. So yeah.
And a lot of women will actually minimize what they're going through. So the fact that they can actually, they have like, it's not a meeting, but you know, they have once a week a time that they can share all the women together. How do you say that? It's like a chalet night, they call.
Yeah.
And so they talk about how their week was it a good week or not? Is there something new in all the legal procedure or not? And these are actually a real photo of our shelter. So we really want, actually all of our family room has a bassinet. So we can, and they can also have, if for example, she has 4 or 5 children, if it's possible and there are availabilities, we can actually say, look, the 2 rooms will be your room, so she can share with her children and have a safe place. And that's true that our play yard is really amazing. Yeah. It's like a big park. Yeah. We're lucky. So all about the intervention part, as my colleague was telling, it's a short stay, so sometimes it's really hard with all they're going through to start somewhere and see all their real needs. And it's about 0-3 months at the short stay. Obviously, with all the housing crisis, all the help, it's really hard. The women, for example, who are struggling with immigration situation, it really doesn't help her in the situation. And but in the last 2-3 years, women were staying longer, so sometimes still 6 and even 10 months in our accommodation. So it's not because it's a short-term stay that we will actually say, okay, well, your 3 months is actually finished. You can, you can move on. So we really want you to know that we understand all the different crises that they are going through.
Yeah, no one ends up on the street. Like
no.
we will accompany you to find other housing or to wherever it is that you want to go.
Exactly. So for the intervention part, we have different follow-ups, individual follow-ups. As I was saying, there's also meeting with all the women who are in the shelter at the same times. There's also workshop about the impacts of the domestic violence. Sometimes it's more like fun part, karaoke night and something, because they need also that part of enjoying life and not seeing always their situation, their reality every single day. It's really hard sometimes, but so we try to make it, so now the house, the shelter, it's like a Christmas village. It's a crazy place, but it's really so they can feel like home, because we are workers there, but they are in their own home, okay? So like Tania was saying, it's really hard sometimes to let go the house, the toys of the children, their day-to-day, finally, reality to come in a place. So we really try to make that place welcoming. Mm-hmm. So we will see all the different impacts on their, different sphere of their life as a mom, as a worker, as a woman, all the impacts that have been into, for example, if she was in a relation since 15 years, 15 years, it's not, it's not a short-term relationship, so there's sometimes a lot of impacts that she was dealing with, and she's not even aware of the impact she's been going through, through all these years. And sometimes a lot of women will call our helpline and say, oh, well, I'm sure I'm not victim of, of coercive control or, violence because it doesn't hit me. And it's really hard for a woman to accept that she is in that type of dynamic. So that's why we're here, and that we're all over the place to make sure that it's not about only physical violence, okay? A lot of women will not actually go through that type of form of violence, but all the other ones, okay? So it's really important for them to know that. So we have post-housing, also follow-up support. So like Tania was saying, it's not, okay, well, it's finished, your time here. So a lot of women will have a year or two of our follow-ups and, different services that she will also use after leaving the shelter.
Yeah, our goal is kind of to be the focus point of where she can go for other resources, other information. So we never want her to feel alone or unsupported. So we'll always be there in any aspect that we can. Yeah. So youth intervention. We also have a youth worker that works with the kids and also the mother-child relationship, because a lot of the times within coercive control, within a relationship like that, there is a split between the power dynamics between the mom and the dad, and maybe there is less authority seen on the mom from the kids. So we like to work with the kids with those dynamics, also what the kids have gone through, so how they see what they're living, how it's impacted them regardless of age. So it's different if a child that's 5 years old as opposed to a teenager who's 14. They might understand a little bit more what's going on. So we want to make sure that they're also taken care of and they understand what's going on. Also, tools to demystify the impact of the violence, to understand kind of what is happening, why they're even here. We don't exactly want to use adult words or explain too much, but also in a context that they can grasp and understand why mommy is here, why daddy's not here. So we'll do that. Group workshops as well. We do them for the kids. Depends on what kind of kids who are at the shelter at the time, but we'll do groups. There's a lot of activities like coloring, or like little activities, maybe even related to behaviors, because sometimes a lot of kids are impacted so much that it affects them at school, it affects them in their relationships with their friends. So we want them to understand what's going on and then be able to kind of figure out what it is that they want to do in their life. And we're also part of the Table Petite Enfance, so there's a lot of community groups that we're a part of that's also related not just to the women but the kids as well. So we want to make sure their well-being is taken care of just as much as the women's are.
And our youth workers also work with, for example,
Youth protection,
different workers at the CLSC, social workers, so we can really make a safety net around, yes, the woman, but also the children who are actually not able to put words, like Tania was saying, on what's happening.
We'll work with the schools as well, the psychologist at the school, the social worker at the school. It's kind of like a security measure to make sure that they're looked upon in a way that will help them, that will have them move forward instead of just living in the tension and the atmosphere that they've been living.
And since April 2023, with the youth protection, there's a law that actually passed that all the children, all the kids who were exposed to that type of dynamic, well, it's a criteria finally to to be in their life, to protect them. So it's really helpful for us that we have this like levier, so we can actually say, well, we need that protection, so we can actually see, for example, if the dad may have, custody or weekends to see the children, well, we're going to make sure that that safety net with the youth protection team will be set and will be in place, just to make sure, because we know that when there's a separation or that type, a woman comes in the shelter, the children will be the first the first tool to maintain finally the coercive control on the woman. And as we know, if there's mother in the place, the first thing that will affect the mother is using our children. So it's like it's making us like, you can use me, you can do that to me. A lot of women will actually think like that. You can me, it's fine, I can protect myself, I'm an adult, but don't touch my children. And it's really the first tool that they will, the order of violence will use. Is there any question? Feel free to ask, or there's no problem. And we actually didn't say it, but it's really important for us to let you know that sometimes it's a hard subject, domestic violence. So it's like not a trauma, but advice. How do you say that?
Oh, like a trigger warning.
A trigger warning. So we know that it's hard sometimes. So if ever you need to talk, that's why we're two today, and we can take time after. It's going to be a pleasure for us to, because we all will know someone, a woman who will actually be in that type of situation in our life. And I think it's one woman on three will deal with that type of domestic violence situation in her life. So obviously not all the women will come in our accommodation, so there's also external services, individual actually follow-ups, but also group. For example, for the individual follow-ups, it's really about knowing, okay, I want to prepare and move on. How can I, prepare myself in a safety way to leave the dynamic, to leave the relationship. Also, it's sometimes, I've been in a relation like that, an abused relation, and now I'm out of it, but I really want to understand what happened, all the impacts on me. Sometimes it's just I don't know, I think I may, be in that type of coercive control dynamic, and I want to learn more. So you can all see that in the individual follow-up at the extern. And also there's a group, which is about, maybe 6 to 10 women who will see all the impacts and all the socialization of the women. So to understand why we women grow with that, and also actually go through that type of abuse in our life as a woman. And Tania was an expert in external services, so she can maybe talk more about what we see in that type of
it's basically a big de-victimization program. So you go through all of the different subjects to kind of to realize all the things that you have gone through. And because it's external, you don't need necessarily accommodations. So you don't have to leave the household in an emergency situation, but you are still in a dynamic where you want to leave but maybe can't, or you just left and he's kind of still there, still trying to message you. You're not sure how to do it. We focus a lot on empowerment and understanding the socialization of women and how we grew up, and why it is that we can sometimes let things go faster than we should, or not pay attention to certain red flags, because in society we have kind of been brought up to be a little more submissive and a little more accommodating, and we don't want to ruffle too many feathers, and we don't want to say too much or say the wrong thing, and that kind of transcribes itself into other parts of your life, so work, relationships, even relationships with your kids. So we try to kind of demystify all of that stuff and bring them back into their power.
And we actually didn't say it, but domestic violence, we're not saying that men are not victim of that type of dynamic, but obviously all the statistics will prove that is really a gendered violence against women. So, so there are services for men if they are going through that, but it's a fact that women are a big part of that. We were, the statistic is about, in the domestic violence, I think it's 87% of women victim and the other part men's, but for femicide, it's 100% the women who are victim of femicide. Everybody knows what is a femicide? Yeah. It's actually when a woman is killed because she's a woman or in a domestic violence, so overpowered by a man.
Yeah. So the reason, the cause of her death is the gendered violence that happened within the relationship.
And it's really sad because last year there was 26 femicide in Quebec only, and that's only the woman who, for example, he was accused, but we're not talking about all the women who actually was at that point of being killed, or all the other forms of violence they've been through, and all the women who are actually, we don't know where they are. So there's a lot of women. Yeah. And in Canada, I think it's one woman every 2 or 3 days. So, yeah, it's too much. And it can be anyone. It can be our daughter, our sister, our neighbor. It's really important. We can all be, as I was saying, touched by that.
It can also be us, even though we work in that, you know, it doesn't mean we will not end up in a relationship like that where, you know, maybe we didn't see certain red flags, maybe, and then, you know, you're in a position where things are too much, you don't know how to, exactly. So it's, anyone can go through that, regardless of the information that you have.
Regardless also of the culture, the education, if you're working, age, it's everyone. Our daughter are with all the social media invasion, as I can say. It's easy, it's an easy platform for that type of dynamic to, you know, to be hitting and pointing the girls, the young teenagers.
Yeah. It perpetuates.
Yeah.
So just to go back, like,
yeah.
Are you honest with your clients about that? Like, that usually escalates at those times where you're about to leave the situation, but then also are you working with like police or authorities to show them the seriousness of that? Because I feel that's often where it's not really serious.
Yes.
Then it's like, oh, just one of your sisters for the night or something, you know, but then that's when that increased risk happens and it's not taken seriously, and then next thing you know, they're missing.
We have certain criteria or like triggers that we know. So like the beginning of the end of a relationship is usually a trigger that can maybe escalate violence. There are also situations,
mental health.
Mental health crisis.
If he thinks he's never going to get back to the relation or have power.
She ends up with someone else, she's starting to see someone else, that's also another trigger that can maybe cause him to, you know, escalate the situation.
The divorce papers, the custody of the children. So we have like an evaluation like form that we do every single woman that use any of our services. And it's sometimes it's moving, the situation moves. So depending of what she's telling us, and so we're gonna make that form all together with the woman and see that. We also have in our Roussillon and Chateauguay part, we have it's called like a crisis cellule, I don't know.
It's like a crisis team.
Yeah, a crisis team. So if, for example, one partner thing, it can be a school, it can be a shelter, it can be any different organism, who see that, you know, the situation is going to red, so they need to meet themselves in 24 hours, 48 hours. They have to meet all together, all the professionals that can actually put in place a safety net, and they will see, okay, is it possible for her to move in the shelter in that time? Is it possible, like for example, if he's getting out of prison, so he's going to be kept inside by all the, how do you say that,
Like parole, probation.
Yeah, exactly, the probation. So if police officer can be involved, so to make sure that it's not going to escalate to the femicide. And yes, I think every time there is a femicide, it can be in our territory, it can be in Quebec, in whatever, where. The women who are actually using our services, they're shaking inside because and they often say, well, it could have been me. So sometimes we take time with them and talk about, yeah, for sure, it can be anybody, any woman of us. And why? Because it's not their power. He is taking power over them. He is taking the right to threaten her, to kill her, and to abuse her. So that's why we really want them to feel that it's not their responsibility, and how we can all work together, all the professionals, to make sure she stay alive. And we have in all the Montérégie territory, we have also, it's called La Prochaine est encore en vie. It's like a campaign. The next one is still alive. So somebody somewhere, a friend, a co-worker, a family member, can help her and can make a difference so she stay alive. And that's why it's important. So this morning, this training, this workshop, because anybody has the power to say, well, I think your situation is a risk, and I think you should go and seek help to make sure that, yes, you stay alive.
We take it very seriously.
Yeah.
Yes?
What kind of support is there for men?
For men, there's different places. I know there's a place in Longueuil. There's Avif, who actually works with, are you talking for victim men? Or I know that there's a place in Valleyfield, it's called Violence. They work with also the author of violence, but also the victim of domestic violence with men. We have the same organism in Chateauguay, Avif, who works with the author of violence, but they don't work with maybe they work with victims now. Yeah, I know they changed. Yeah, je regarde le Calax, là. I think they actually changed, and they do help the men. Yeah.
The reason we don't is because the dynamics of violence is different with men as opposed to women because of the socialization and stuff. So it's kind of separate.
And because we work with women, our shelter is based for helping women. So that's why we don't let us work with them. But we know that it is possible. But yeah, that's why our awareness team exists. So it was me or you?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
A lot of we do a lot of public evenings, social networking. We work a lot with other community groups, basically to spread awareness, to spread the knowledge so that everyone understands that it exists, that it's here, the different types of violence, how it manifests, the impacts of that on a woman, on their work, on their, everywhere.
Because it impacts actually everywhere, every sphere of her life. And I just remember because last week we were here with a training of all the KSC, I don't know if I'm telling it right, of Kahnawake, and we've talked about the crisis team, possible that maybe here it would be possible to work with the peacekeepers and all the social services to put in place that type of crisis team, just to make sure that it is on and it's it's a safety
and we
net
respond
for
as fast as possible.
Exactly.
Because when we get a call, it's probably not the first time something's happened. It's probably it's probably at the point where it's critical and something needs to move, something needs to happen. So we try to have those partnerships to be able to put a team in place and dispatch people as fast as possible so that another feminicide doesn't happen.
And Rebecca was actually saying that she would love to actually put in place that type of crisis team here. And also to respond to your questions, what we've seen in the last, I've been here since so many years that I've seen that before we could actually see the escalation of the violence, different type of, for example, verbal, psychological, and after if it doesn't work, the strategy of the owner doesn't work, he's going to step in between, for example, sexual violence or physical violence. Now, since I think 4 or 5 years, there is no escalation. So it's like
it can go from 0 to 100.
Exactly. exactly. And also all about the gun control and everything. Before there was a lot of femicide by guns.
Yeah.
Now, for example, the last year, every femicide was actually with a knife or a strangulation. So it's really alarming for us because it can be anything in our kitchen, anything in our house. So that's why it's really important for us to make sure that the evaluation is made every single time a woman is actually getting in contact with us, because it's something that
it shows the emotion behind the attack as well, whereas like with a gun it's much more unemotional, it's much more like calculated. With strangulation it's a lot more intimate, and which shows more of a shift in the way men see women, and how because of that shift, the way the danger, like how much danger we are in, and that sometimes you cannot predict or you cannot see it coming. Like, yes, the overall picture, you can be like, okay, there's some red flags here, but that doesn't necessarily say that like you understand that tomorrow if something goes wrong you might die. You know, whereas there was more planning with guns and stuff, so you could maybe intervene a lot faster.
Why do you think that has changed as far as the rate of increase of escalation?
I would say it's a lot of social media, a lot of the boom of the alpha male masculinity, how the perceived loss of power that men have in society with the rise in women, and how we would like to reclaim our own power. There is a fragility in the male ego that causes the escalation in the violence. And it's sad to say because a lot of kids are exposed to this. Like the, what's his name?
Andrew Tate, and the other one, what's his name? Elon Musk?
Elon Musk.
Elon, him. I don't even want to say his name.
So it's very like popular figures that use a certain language that can attract kids into a mindset that they're better than others. They don't need to respect women because women are just, you know, tools to be used. And so that kind of mindset, the fact that it's instilled so young, causes the violence to increase also at a younger age, which is why we do a lot of awareness in schools. We try to have little girls understand that, you know, your innocent relationship in high school might not be so innocent.
And we see that, I see that with my own teenagers. I have two girls, teenagers, and a boy at 4 years old. And I see that in the way they communicate, also with the boys, how they treat themselves. I was about to say something and I forgot, but it's really important. Yeah, we go in elementary school, secondary school also. And it's really important for us that they know what is a sane, what is a good relationship. Because it's all about that, and it's about education. And there's also, that's why. In 1929, a woman became a human, like a human in Canada. So before that, it's not even, 100 years ago. We were actually belonging to the man. So I know we've actually did so many, all the feminist group works to our different rights and everything, but now we're in a situation really critical because we see that, what's happening on the other side, I won't say the country, but we see that, the safety net, the social safety net is actually breaking over there, and it's really preoccupating because we're not that close, we're not that far from them, and
usually this happens when you're having such a big impact, and they're making you take those like 3 steps back of like, this is too much.
Exactly.
You have too much power. We need to stop it now, which is also, I think, why there's been such a boom in the masculinity kind of wave, because they feel threatened when, as a feminist, that's not our goal. Our goal is not to be better. We want to be equal.
or take their place. We only want the same rights
Exactly.
that men. It's not because of, yeah. So that was the,
Yeah, that's good.
great. Any questions? So in the shelter, it's really important for us as shelter or even on our day-to-day contact with them at different services to welcome the women with all our
Hearts.
arts, but are not,
Aura.
yeah, like all ourself, all our
Yeah.
story, all of her finally. So we will try to listen to them by the helpline when she's, getting out. It's our workplace, the shelter, but it's their living place. So they come out with their baby in their hands, taking a coffee, with her hair like that. So it's really important for us to welcome her and
Meet her where she is.
Exactly.
So we
Yeah.
will go to the kitchen and we'll make a coffee as well. And that's when kind of conversations happen where, we start talking about something benign and then all of a sudden, oh, like my ex did this, and then the woman that just comes out of her room is like, oh yeah, he did this. And then it becomes this whole conversation of how everyone was living before they came here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's welcoming her in all our services at her pace. And we say that oftenly because it's really important for us. Because if we were actually dealing with that us, we would move. We would move faster than her,
Yeah.
and it would not be respectful for her.
Yeah, we don't want to impose anything. We're not trying to convince her of doing anything. We're trying to get her to understand, and then what is your next move? We will help you with your next move. Understand all of the different risks, and then you make an informed decision on what you want to do, and that's what we will do.
And we won't not judge her.
Exactly.
That's really important.
Yeah. So what is a good relationship?
Question.
Yeah.
Your turn. The answers are there, but so yeah.
So basically respect, safety, love, commitment, trust, freedom, communication, complicity, humor, and equality. So basically it's if, let's say you're having a fight, do you feel like you can say everything that you need to say without being attacked? Can you safely argue? Because arguments happen, but if you don't feel like you're understood, or you don't feel like if you say something, there might be repercussions, then that's a little red flag of you shouldn't be feeling like that. Respect, so that regardless of what is happening and what you say, they will still take what you say into consideration. And that goes both ways, obviously. Freedom, so freedom to leave, freedom to have friends, freedom to communicate with people.
Be yourself.
Yeah, be yourself. Wear the things you want to wear, and not feel judged or not feel like you need to communicate back to your partner. So I'm going to see friends, I'm going to be here at 5 o'clock, then now I'm going to supper, now we're eating. Like those things are red flags if the other person is asking you to do those things or saying that you need to be tracked at all times. So it's globally it's equality. So you both have space in the relationship. And any deviation from that is usually a little red flag of like, why is that happening? Should trigger a little like, I'm not understanding this. Is this a safe relationship for me? And we'll go through a lot of different things too.
We're going to see actually what is the difference in between a couple carol and domestic violence. That include coercive control.
Yeah.
So as Tania was saying, if you feel free to express yourself, wear what you want, have a point of view on a subject. I mean, sometimes, it's normal. We're two different human, and it's something that it's okay to say, well, I think about that, and if I'm not okay with what you're saying, it's okay. When there's respect, there will be, sometimes sometimes the limits can be like passed sometimes, but it's like there's also that part of the person will say, well, okay, I went too far yesterday, I'm so sorry with what I said, and it's really important because we're going to see later on, The author of violence will also use a lot of external excuse to excuse the different behavior he had. So feel free to talk, feel free to say that it's not right. You're never scared when you're in a couple carol. Okay, you're never scared of what you're gonna say or think. You feel free in your own person. You feel free to say what you want, which is actually not the fact. It's not a thing in domestic violence. You fear. A lot of women is fearing to wear what she want, to say what she want, to feel what she's feeling, and that is the problem, okay? Because when you're sharing a relation with someone, we should actually, being, you know, talking about stuff, growing together, because sometimes, for example, you start a relation, you're teenagers or you're young adults, and after you become parents, a mother, dad, sometimes we change as a human, okay? We actually grow, and sometimes it's there when the author of violence won't feel, okay, well, I don't want you to go see that friend, and she's gonna start, you know, isolate herself and feel responsible, doubt about her, and these are the impacts that we will see. So and author of violence do not want somebody to tell her your relation is not good. You're in a DV relationship. So this is something really threatening for the author of violence.
It's why the isolation happens, right? So offhanded comments are things like, oh, you know, your mom doesn't really approve of me, you know, maybe you shouldn't go over as much, and then all of a sudden you're not speaking to your family anymore. And then, oh, that one friend that you're always going with, you know, like, she's not very nice, she's always mean to you, she always says these things, maybe you shouldn't be friends with her. Now all of a sudden you don't have these friends, you don't have the people around you that can kind of clue you in on, hey, there's something weird going on, why is he saying that, why is he doing this? You don't have your family, you don't have your friends, you're stuck alone. And then the justification comes in, the explanation of why I'm doing these things or saying these things. You have no like sounding board, so you kind of start doubting yourself. You're like, maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm not sure, you know. That's reasonable that, like, you know, he was irritated, you know, because something happened at work and that's why he yelled at me, or that's why he hit me. Maybe I should be more aware next time when he comes home, you know. So then you start adjusting yourself to the situation. So he comes home and you're like, okay, I have to like serve him and make sure that he's not stressed out from work. Okay, maybe like making him a meal, doing that. So what you're doing is trying to control the environment when he is the one that needs to be in control of his actions, right? So, but you're doing that because you're afraid, because you know that there's consequences if you don't. So it's usually like a visceral, like you can feel it in your body reaction of, oh my God, okay, I have to, you know. So it's trying to reconnect the women to what that feeling is, why you have that feeling, and then be able to sort of rationally think about it, as opposed to emotionally, like, I've been with him for 15 years, you know, I want this to work. Like, be more separate and like, what are the facts? And how do I now want to deal with it?
And it's a lot of women actually will fall into protection survivor mode. Okay, like Tania was saying, like, I want to prepare, make sure the kids won't scream, the kids will be quiet. So, I mean, he has time to explain his day at work and everything. So she will really be in a kind of survivor mode just to make sure that the environment, the situation, and the escalation, the explosion will not be happening. Okay, so she's really a master in making sure everything will be okay.
But we'll see with the cycle of violence.
For sure.
Nothing is ever enough.
Sorry, can I just take a picture before you?
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
We have to copy too, so we can leave.
And I think they're going to post it as well.
So what are the different myths of narcissism? I don't even know who actually talked because we're like a binôme. What do you think are the myths around DV, domestic violence dynamic? Are they myths?
What do you hear or what do you think of when you think of domestic violence?
Yeah.
Well, she can just leave if it's violent.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't she just leave? It seems easy.
Yes.
It is a big myth
I
because
like
there's
it.
so many factors
Yeah.
that come into play.
That
Yeah,
if you speak out, something will be done.
Yes.
yeah,
So leaving her in the dynamic because it's too scary.
yeah.
Other myths? There's a lot of them, for sure. There's a lot of them. These are the ones that we really hear oftenly, like he's the father of my children. I cannot do that to them, to the children. I cannot do that to him. The women actually don't even think about the responsibility that the other has. So about the fact that he's the father and he is actually exposing his own kids to the violence.
Domestic violence is a loss of control. So it's not a loss of control. It's actually the action of taking control. It's calculated. It is
A choice?
it's a choice. Yeah. It is not, oh, I'm just emotional, something happened. It is maybe not in a super calculated way, but it's understood that if whatever action of violence is done, they will make the other person do what they want. So it's really not a loss of control.
She's like being hit. She must like being hit because she doesn't leave him. Okay, so there's a lot of myth thinking that domestic violence is only physical abuse. So it's not about all the psychological impacts that leave her not be able actually to do the step to move forward. So it's always putting, actually the myth is always putting the woman on the responsibility of staying in that relationship, which is actually the contrary, because the obstacle, we will see them, they're real, okay, and they really paralyze the woman in the situation, in the fact that she's not going to be able to actually leave.
And physical violence is never the first violence used, right? Like you're not going to be in a new relationship and intentionally let someone hit you, right? There's usually the verbal violence, the psychological violence, so the breaking down of your self-esteem, the breaking down of who you are as a person before the physical violence happens, so that when that does happen, you then don't have all of the capabilities to get out. So you think or understand that you're the problem, it's your fault, and that's why they stay in the relationship. Also, like if there's kids involved and stuff like that, there's a lot more moving pieces if you want to leave. The longer the relationship, the harder it is to get out of the relationship. So yeah.
And as Tanya was saying, also physical, we actually learned since we're like 3-4 years old, that's not good, you don't do that, you don't hit, you don't push and everything. So the physical abuse and domestic violence is actually like that. It's only pushing her, it's only hitting her on, in her face or holding her. But there's so many different manifestations of physical abuse, and we will see them that even a woman won't even realize that it's physical abuse, but it is criminal and it is abuse, physical abuse. So I love him. I have nowhere to go. I have no money. I'm isolated. Talking about isolated, yes, sometimes it's an impact of him putting her, away from all her friends, family member and everything, but sometimes it's also her. For example, if they go to a supper and you always like treating her in front of everyone or saying comment like, oh, did you really say that? So you're finally a smart person in front of everyone, and I'm sure everyone here in the place actually been into that type of situation that everybody actually laugh at a comment and everybody is like, oh, I'm not sure about that comment, but won't say anything. So sometimes the woman will retreat, will isolate her own self just to make sure to not deal with that type of situation, that type of abuse.
And it's just a couple's quarrel, it's not violence.
Quarrels, bad. I say Carol, but I hope everybody understood.
Yeah, so there's a lot, there's that myth of like a fight is a fight. As long as it doesn't come to blows, it's just a fight. But the words that are used, the way that words are used as well, like the word itself doesn't have to be violent, like calling someone a bitch or a slut or something like that. It could be the tone, it could be the gestures that are used. Like in public, a lot of the times, like just a look can let the woman know, I'm in trouble, something will happen, and nothing needs to be said. So that is also like a dynamic of a fight of domestic violence, really, because there's that power over the other person, that control that can go unseen by other people, which is why we want to surround the woman with so many people, so that there's more likelihood that someone will say something. Like we want to empower someone to say something when they see something like this happen.
You had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I also think that the big part of the manipulation in domestic violence is how the perpetrator can be seen by people outside of the relationship.
Definitely.
Yes.
They're usually someone with a great reputation or someone that's really loved by
The community.
close ones of the person who is a victim of violence. They know how to present themselves very well.
Even at court.
Yeah,
They're really
that's usually
good.
what the goal is for that, is that the view of everyone else is that I'm an amazing person, I'm perfect. Why would someone want to be with me, right? Or with her? So that's a whole other dynamic of now everyone thinks that he's such a great guy. If I leave, I'm the one that's going to look down on. I'm the one that's going to have to take the brunt of like public scrutiny because he clearly is a great guy and I'm a terrible wife, a terrible mother, you know?
And the example of that, which is really visual, is femicides. When there's that in the media, at the news, at the 6-hour news, everyone close by, the neighbors, the co-workers of the perpetrator will say, wow, we didn't know, he's such an handsome, he also always helping, always playing with the kids. So that's why it's really about the intimacy of that dynamic, because when, for example, somebody noticed that there's violence in that relationship, it's because the control is really in place. And if he actually let people in the population works or whatever see that he is the perpetrator, it's because he's losing control and he has to, put pressure on so she stays. So what is domestic violence?
Yes, it's taking control, not losing control. It happens in an intimate relationship. So couples, so romantic, intimate, any form of relationship. So heterosexual, homosexual, polyamorous. It's basically the dynamic that happens within
Two person.
Yeah, two people. And usually domestic violence is not seen from the outside at the beginning. Like Jenan said, it's when you start seeing it on the outside is when it's been so much and there's that loss of control. The point is to keep someone isolated, to keep someone in your little bubble and not let anyone else know what's going on, because the image of the relationship is what matters. The showing off of I have this person, this is my family, this is the goal, and they don't want anyone else to know that things aren't going well within the relationship.
And getting involved also in the relationship.
Yeah, because then other people's opinions can maybe sway her opinion. Again, no boundaries, no age, no culture, and it can happen to anyone.
So what are the different criteria? There's 4 criteria about a DV relationship, a DV dynamic. There is always a search of power. Okay, so it's power, intention, persistence, and impact. So if you have any of this in your relation, it's because there's kind of a control in it. So the search of power is that your partner, the perpetrator, will use different form, different manifestation. Now we actually use that word manifestation, not against, but à la place, instead of form of violence, of abuse, because it can actually, they are really using different tools, the perpetrator, to create a different way to control, create a different way to take power over the victim, over you. There's always an intention Like my colleague said, it's not a loss of control, you're taking control. So it's intentional. I want you to feel unsafe. I want you to stay in the relation and take power over you. So there's always the intention to win and to keep that at all costs. And we will see
Because you're
that.
going to gain something out of it.
Yeah, the perpetrator will, the author of violence. Persistence, well, in fact, is actually the cycle, so it's not something that will happen just once. It's always, sometimes the first cycle can be in 2-3 months. So it's not obvious that now I'm in the tension after, when we will see it later on. It's not always say, okay, now I just actually been victim of a different abuse, there's justification. So, and it will start again. It will always start again. And there is an impact. In a good relationship, if there is excuse and the person realized that what he did, behavior were not right, the person will take that part of responsibility and will not feel, how do you say that? How do you say that? Legitimate to do that type of abuse.
So if there is that situation and at the end the person takes responsibility and is like, yeah, okay, I'm sorry I said that, it was not my intention to, the issue is dropped.
Yeah.
But if there is this like violence involved, there is going to be some kind of impact. So either the woman will miss out on something, or he'll take something away, or okay, now because this happened, you have to make it up to me. So there is like this trying to win back the power that he gained.
And just feeling afraid is an impact.
Yeah.
And that's, a lot of women feel afraid in all time.
So coercive control. It involves the use of various forms of violence with the aim of coercing, dominating, and maintaining power over the victim. So basically, it's the same types of violence, but it's like a new lens to see the different strategies of the author of violence. So it's not psychological abuse, or a new form. It's like a tool in your toolbox. So coercive control can be so many different forms of violence, and things that are criminal and also not criminal, right? So a lot of the times criminal acts were what was seen as the violence.
Physical, yeah.
Exactly.
Violence, or sexual violence.
Yeah, but coercive control is like the little subtle things that happen within the dynamic of a relationship that can lead you to believe that maybe something is wrong.
Exactly. So it's not something new, it's just something to let people know that it's not because you're not seeing something that the coercive control is not in place since a lot of time.
Yeah.
And we're going to see all the different manifestation with the table plate, place? The table place? Yeah, exactly. So like we were saying, there's a lot of manifestations that are not criminal, and we will tell you which one is. Right now, coercive control in Canada, just before in March, we were with all, the governable, the change, the power of, Justin Trudeau and everything. They were about to criminalize the coercive control. Now we've heard that it's going there right now. So the new not president, but a new government actually is looking forward to put that in place. And there's a lot of country in the world, Australia, England, Scotland also, that did actually criminalize coercive control, and it really makes a big difference for the victims, because a lot of them will feel like it's not enough what I've been going through, which is actually killing a lot of this type of control is killing the woman inside, okay? And we will see that it's not always something we see. I think it's like blurry or something, but anyway, you will have, and you can find that also on the table, but the website of Le Regroupement. So monitoring and all those little questions. Okay, so you finish at 4 o'clock and now it's 4:30. I know it's about 20 minutes. So where were you?
It took 25 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So where were you? Can you give me a picture of the kilometers that you have in your car? Oh, I see, for example, in our account that you've been at Tim Horton. With who? You were in break at your work. So all these little questions that will make feel the woman like not free, not safe. Okay, so sometimes if you see that, and we will see here, a partner will come and have his break with her at her job. Oh, he's always bringing you coffee. So if you
From
see
the
that,
outside in.
it is such a sweet
like,
man.
oh my God, he's so nice. He comes and sees you every lunch. He wants to be with you. He wants to spend time with you. But the
no.
insider kind of knowledge is that he's here to monitor who you're eating with, what you're spending your time on. And the idea of coercive control is to get the bigger picture of what is happening. So not just the isolated, this psychological violence, this physical violence, it's more the environment that you've been living in, the tension that has been involved in the relationship, to then criminalize the whole thing. Not just that one physical act.
And it's about all the image of the iceberg. I don't think I've put the iceberg, or maybe, no. So sometimes we only see, the small parts and the stuff, the manifestation they're clear. It's easy to see. Yeah. But behind or under the water, there's so many other manifestations going on, which is actually making her paralyzed and scared of doing anything.
Yeah.
A lot of women who actually came in the shelter will say, oh, well, he was coming to meet with me to all our medical meeting and everything, so she doesn't have any moment on her own, so she can actually seek for help.
Lots of threats as well, so threatening to leave with the children, making her lose custody, threats of killing her loved ones, also like animals as well, threats to take her to court, take away her immigration status. That is also a myth too. They cannot do that.
No.
So once the immigration is in place, we can completely separate the files in the context of domestic violence, so that they do not have power to then deport you.
Threat of killing himself also, that's something we really actually, so that really a lot of women will say, well, I don't want him, or I don't want the father of my children killing himself because of me. So they really feel like it's their own responsibility. Sexual violence, it is criminal. There's threats that they are criminal actually. A lot of police station is actually involved with that. They don't have all the power to bring that to court and everything, but they will write down as much as they can see different manifestation of coercive control to make all the story and all the living and all the impacts that a woman were going through. So actually, sexual violence, pressure for having sex, force her to watch porn, having affairs, humiliating her, denigrating her, and her sexual being, control or contraception, that sometimes we see also. So making her feel responsible for not having children because she's infertile and she's not able to, but finally she actually see that he was actually putting concentration in her coffee and her food and stuff like that. So making her feel like I'm not able to have our own children.
Or the opposite,
exactly.
Force them to not take contraception or to become pregnant in order to keep them within the relationship.
A lot of promises too are made by, for example, I will change, we can have another baby. So sometimes we see a lot of women having a lot of children because of that, because it's always
it will change the situation. Like, another kid will bring us more love, will bring us together more.
A wedding or stuff like that. And obviously when she has 4 or 5 kids, it's harder for her to leave the relation after.
Gaslighting is a big one that's not criminalized at the moment.
No.
So throwing tantrums, insults, then when she confronts him about it, accuses her of exaggerating or making stories up, convincing her that she's making it a bigger issue than it really is, keeps telling her that she spends time imagining problems and exaggerating things, that she's too sensitive, she's hurt over nothing, it's not that bad. I really didn't say that, like within a fight or whatever, I said that I would, or he says he's gonna kill himself. Then she comes back on the situation, yeah, but you said, that you were gonna kill yourself. I never said that. Why would I say that? I would never do that to you guys. Why are you making stuff up? And the longer you're in a relationship like that, the more you start to doubt, maybe I am crazy. Maybe I am making things up. Maybe I didn't hear him properly, because it doesn't make sense. Why would someone say something like that and then not afterwards? Sometimes that can also be a deliberate tactic. So when there's a fight, in the heat of the moment, to say things like that out of the blue on purpose, to then go back and come back on it later. So purposefully say, I'm gonna kill you, like a weird threat like that, and then come back later of, you're the one that's crazy, I've never said that, I would never kill you, to make her feel crazy. It's like psychological warfare.
And obviously use that afterwards to say, oh, well, you have a mental health problem.
And then maybe get her sent to an institution to say, she's hearing things, she's seeing things, she's the one that's got the issue.
And use that also with the youth protection. Well, she's the one being weird. She's the one having problems. She's not able to do anything, but actually he's the one behind using that. I have an example in Montreal, for example, a partner was actually in the night moving the car of her. So she was waking up and trying to go to work, but not finding her car. So he was actually after saying, well, you're crazy. You're not even able to remember where your car is parked. So there's a lot of things like that. Hitting also, that's something that we've seen. Hitting her and saying, well, no, I didn't do that to you. I mean, you did that. You hit yourself in the door or something. So she will doubt herself about what really is happening in her day-to-day. Financial abuse, that's something that we get a lot. Using her credit card or name, forcing her to go to work too much, or even actually the contrary, staying at home. You can take care of the kids, so making it happen like it's a good thing, and finally that she doesn't have access to her money or account or anything. The support child also money, control her transportation, so make sure that she doesn't even have access to her money, but it goes further also about there's a woman who actually was, for example, sleeping outside the room, or their room, the both of them, not giving her access to food, not giving her access to a shower. So it's really something that we can also put in the financial abuse.
Also spiritual violence, so mocks her religion or spiritual beliefs, forces her to adopt practices, or distorts the beliefs that she does have to make her feel guilty and belittle her because of those beliefs. That can be seen a lot, and it has like a big impact because it's something that you value so much, and to have that taken away from you or forced upon you in a certain way can break you down a lot faster.
And also play with all your identity. So a lot of women, we will ask her, for example, what do you want to do for yourself? Do you want to draw? Do you want to go for a walk? And they don't even know what they want to do themselves, because it's been like swiped away from her by him imposing all his activities, or getting out or stuff like that, or his different rules. And so there's a lot of women who actually don't even know who they are anymore and what they like to do anymore.
They lose their identity and become the thing that will most regulate the relationship.
Exactly, like the shadow of him finally
Exactly.
adapting to him. Harassment, which is actually criminal, so stalking her, following her, or even following her with different friends. I had an example also about a partner who said they were in separation and everything, and he actually said, "Oh, did you hear, noises in your room yesterday?" And she was like, "Yeah, I've heard something, probably the kids playing, stuff like that." And he said, "Well, no, I sent a friend. He was hiding in your cupboards." So just installing every time a fear of non-safe environment, a feeling that he is everywhere and has control, and seeing her.
Everything.
Yeah, exactly. Also, repeatedly send text message, also under different numbers, different names on the social media. That's why we say sometimes technology is a really good thing because it leaves different traces, so the woman can use that afterwards to declare and everything. But it's also really used by the different perpetrator to make sure they have their hands on them on any time.
Humiliation, so acts and ways to embarrass or humiliate her in public, compares her physically to other people. This is a lot of psychological violence the humiliation can be clear for her and not clear for everyone else. So just like I said, like little looks, little stares, there can be like code words that they have that she understands exactly what that means. To make her feel so bad about herself that she doesn't want to go out, she doesn't want to see her friends, she doesn't want anyone else to know what's happening, and then that just perpetuates the cycle, and she ends up in a relationship she can't leave.
There were also a woman telling us that she was going to court and he was there ready to testify, and he was actually he had brought a snack, a little Smarties box. So everyone was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I mean, if he's hungry, he's gonna eat." But he actually brought that in a purpose, because the day that something happened, a physical abuse happened, there was actually a Smartie box involved in the situation. So he knew and she knew exactly the intention of him bringing that to the court to make her feel unsafe like she paralyzed in front of the court, in front of the judge. So after with that, seeing that and talking to the lawyers, they actually put her in a separate room so she could testify after. But it's something that we see that, or a cigarette pack or something, well, the victim know exactly what is the intention in between the perpetrator after. Abuse using technology, I actually talked about it. So tracker with air tags, that's usually used for the person who actually go in the trip, but a lot of them can be installed under the cars, and the stuffed animal, the children, the coats, just to make sure that he will track her every place she goes. Oh, that's a new house, so who's living there? So he's going to be working on knowing who's actually is living there.
Especially at the shelters, it's something that we look into, because when there's exchange of kids, to make sure, because sometimes there's like one doll that she always wants to have, or there's one item that they want to kind of transfer over. That item needs to be thoroughly searched and thoroughly protected in order to not then be able to track back.
And all about the geolocalization application. So every time a woman comes in our shelter, we see that with her to make sure that he's not going to be able to trace her to the shelter, because otherwise she needs to be transferred to another shelter for her safety.
Hidden apps, hidden applications on spyware, stuff like that. It's hard to detect.
It is.
It's not something that you necessarily do right away. It's geolocalization, yes, but the tracking of someone can be very scary because you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know what's happening. How is it that he's always at the grocery store when I'm there and he's not supposed to know where I am? Blaming. So tells her that he can't stay sober while living with a crazy woman like her. Says that if she leaves him, he's going to kill himself. Tells her that he wouldn't get angry if she was the one who would keep the kids quiet. So she is always the problem. She is always the one that needs to control everything in order to placate him or to make him feel good in the relationship. And when something goes bad, it's never his fault, it's always her fault.
Which is a sign, for example, if you don't know if it's actually a DV situation, you can see by what he's going to say that he's never responsible for anything. So that is a big, big sign. Physical violence, yeah, for sure, pushing, hitting, spitting on her is something that we see more and more, which a lot of women don't think, but it is criminal. And also strangulation, as we said, this is a big, big thing since last year and maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
It takes only 11 pounds of force to cause something really important to the victim, and it takes 20 pounds of force to open a soda, like a Coke or Sprite. So imagine it's really quick, and also there's no trace, nothing. You cannot see something sometimes before like a week. There was a lot of, they say that I think it's 80% and 90% of women who are in domestic violence who actually have been abused by strangulation. It's a big, big thing. There's a SOAR project, which is British Columbia website group. It's actually a couple, and she's been abused a lot in her life, and he's a good technology boy guy. So they've worked together to put the SOAR project together, and you can see a lot of things online on that side. You can go and have a different training about it if you want more information. And we really work with the police officer because a lot of the intervention, they have access to the first picture. And we want to say that it's not a picture, it's a movie in domestic violence, okay? So they often arrive, and if, for example, he is quiet at a table, he's the one who actually called the police because she's a crazy one, and she is all over the place, and we really want them to see that and to ask questions, because a lot of the impact of the strangulation will make her feel dizzy, like she is actually, she had drink or she's using drugs, so
She might be slurring her words, she might not be able to articulate, she might forget things that have happened.
Eliminate herself also, so there's a lot of stuff, and
It can be subtle, and so because it's not visible, the police officer might not initially realize that something like that has happened. She might not even know that, she fell unconscious because she just gets up from the floor.
Doesn't remember.
Exactly. So we also do a lot of analysis when a woman comes in of what are the symptoms that you're living now. Maybe you have been strangled and you don't even know it.
So this is a big, big thing.
Yeah.
And isolation, well, we've talked about a lot, so it can be also a strategy for the perpetrator to isolate her from friends, family, but also a strategy from her own self to protect herself and not be abused in front of everyone. There's different, but we've talked about it, by proxy, it's really by using the children and using the animals. Oh, you have a question, sorry.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to add, because I feel like this has been coming up a lot more and more, but I feel like the physical appearance has been more and more of an issue. I feel like there's so many women who will go get their lashes done or get their hair done, and then their man will say something like, oh, who are you trying to look good for?
Yeah.
Or, oh, you're going out tonight, but you're wearing that shirt? Like, that's inappropriate, like, go up to him to change. Or the vice versa, like, oh, I really like you when you have your eyelashes done.
Yeah.
Or when you have no roots showing, or you're going to get, I want to have a blowout every single day. And then it's like, they can go even further and say, oh, I'll pay for it. I think that's also like,
It's psychological
really common.
violence.
Yes, it's really common.
Yeah, because it impacts your self-worth, your self-image, And it also, in a subtle way, humiliates you, right? If you don't have these things done, then you're seen to the person that's supposed to love you, as unworthy.
Yeah.
So it crushes you slowly, even though he might be very willing to, I'm gonna pay for this, I like you to look like that. When you don't, is there a consequence? When, so it's the whole dynamic of why is this even a thing? Why do you care? Why, if it's just for me, it's for me. So that's something to be aware of. It's a lot with the younger girls right now. I want to do this, I want to do that, or I want to wear whatever I want to wear, but you shouldn't be looking like that. You should. Why?
Yeah.
Who does it? It makes your image seem a little more, weird.
You hear women say my hands thinks my hands are so ugly if I don't have my nails done. Or something.
Exactly.
It just seems obviously you feel so little that you have to get your nails done.
Yeah.
You don't want to have nails if you don't have to have nails. But
Exactly.
It's just I find it more and more people have been saying it, especially with the media, trying to look a certain way or present yourself a certain way. It can be hidden.
Yeah, because you're kind of trying to buy the attention, of other people. So what you have to work on is your own self-worth. Why are you seeking that validation from other people?
Yeah.
What is so important about someone else, finding you attractive when you don't find yourself attractive?
Yeah.
So that's when you can be a lot more vulnerable to a relationship like this, where on the surface it seems he's being so nice, he wants me, to look a certain way and to be a certain way, and then, a couple months in, you realize that it's really just to control every aspect of you. To have that person, to have that image of she's my girl,
And there's a lot of micro-regulation. It's always about playing on the limits of the acceptable and unacceptable.
Yeah.
So that's why the women are always struggling by, it's not that bad. or minimizing the fact that he's controlling finally, or paying, or even controlling. I don't want you to have these nails, or I want you to, to have these nails. So, yeah.
So what is he gaining from that? He's gaining the approval of his friends, let's say, that he's got a girl like that, right? What is the impact on you? You feel so down on yourself that if I don't have these things, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. So that would show you then the control that's setting in. But it's not always super evident. You always want to make justifications of, I'm in this relationship, I really like him, it's not that bad, it's not that serious.
It's only nails.
Yeah.
For them, it's going to be that kind of, they will say that, it's not a big thing, it's only about my nails, but the relation will go on, and it's not going to be only about that. Finally, you're not going to be
There'll be the next thing, and the next thing, and then, you feel like you've gone too far and you can't step back anymore.
Because you don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah.
And you've
Do I even like nails?
Yeah. Yes, you have nails, but you don't have, and you don't know who you are anymore, but also you don't know, you've changed in that pact. You've changed, you've been abused, you've been destroyed, so it's harder for her after to fill and to be able to, so by proxy, it's really about, using the animals. We see that a lot, sending picture of the address of a femicide, just like that, so the woman will try to, look what that address, and see that it's a femicide. So there's a lot of things like that. Illegal, it's something we see also. So for example, saying lies to the different workers, so the procedure will, be longer.
Intentionally, prolonging, the court, the justice system,
lawyers.
Lawyers. I'm switching a lawyer, I'm doing this. So something that might take 6 months will take 2-3 years.
Yeah. So you can actually, every meeting, see her trying to get control over her again, and see, or if she
More
sees
opportunities.
someone, yeah, exactly. And
to have contact.
Changing the tool.
So what victims share. So I'm exhausted, I live with the feeling that I'm constantly walking on eggshells. That's a big thing as well. In a domestic violence situation where you feel like you have to anticipate your next move. What's going to happen? What's he going to say? What do I have to say? When you start feeling like that, you know that there's something wrong. The fear is always there in the pit of my stomach. I'm afraid of what might happen to me or my loved ones. So it is like a visceral kind of reaction of there might not be a thing that happened that you're like, I can point to, this is the reason. It's more of this like gut feeling of like, I don't feel good. Why do I always feel like I have to justify myself? Why do I always feel like, I need to like say a little more, do a little more to make everything good or feel good? You shouldn't have to feel like that. I no longer make decisions for myself or my family, but only based on him. So every decision you make takes into account what the reaction will be, what he'll say, what he'll do. That's how you lose yourself as well, because all decisions need to be routed back to the partner, need to take into account, and the decision that you make anyways is probably not going to be good enough because they always have to have that next excuse for whatever abuse. So that you always have to do the dishes, let's say, but he'll come in and he'll say you're not doing it good enough. You did the dishes, but you didn't do this, or you didn't do. It's always that next thing, because they need that next thing to continue the cycle and to make you more and more resistant. And then eventually there needs to be no justification. The violence just keeps going and going, and you feel like there's no way to stop it. I have no money of my own, no bank account. That's big too. And I have lost contact with my family, friends, because my partner's reactions and judgments. Either you separate yourself or he makes it a point to separate you, because it works against his favor to have people around you, to have a best friend that says, hey, why you keep texting him? He doesn't want you to question what he's doing. He wants you to question yourself, so that everything comes back on you. You need to change, you need to do all the things, and he's unresponsible of anything. Also, I feel like I'm going crazy. I doubt my thoughts, my feelings, my opinions. I don't recognize myself anymore. That's a big thing. I'm ashamed. I don't care. I don't dare talk about it with anyone. I feel guilty. That's a feeling of guilt, a feeling of, why did I let it get this far? Why did I, not see it before? Why is it all of a sudden, there is a reason why. They don't want you to see it. They don't want you to know. Every day he belittles me in my role as a mother, my appearance, my clothes, the way I'm cooking, how I'm raising my children. Children are used as a tool a lot in that of, you're not a good mom, or like the dad is the authority figure and you have no more authority in the household. So that when you leave the situation and you come with your kids have no respect for you anymore as a mother because of that relationship.
And we see both of them. We've seen, for example, children who will actually be in protection mode of their mother and say like, oh, I've seen that behaviors from my dad, I don't want, it's not acceptable. And you have the other children who actually will do the same thing. I reproduce the different behaviors to attack the authority of the mom.
I had to quit my job. I have difficulty concentrating. I forget things. I feel disoriented. And it is like that slow burn of I'm slowly going crazy. Like I clearly don't know what's happening. I'm clearly the problem.
And I don't have any power.
Yes,
about that.
I can't do anything about it. Nobody's around me. Nobody can help me. Which is why we want to come in and be like, there is a resource, there is someone you can talk to. And sometimes it's easier to talk to someone that is not family, about a situation like that, especially when guilt is involved, when you don't want to be perceived a certain way within your family or within your friend group. You can kind of outsource that information to us.
And now about the children, so it's actually the same placemat that we've seen for the women. So there's the same thing. So I'm not going to go through that because I know that it's we have other stuff to show you, but you will have a copy, and you can see that, like Tania was saying, the children are really actually the first tool post-separation dynamic. They will be the ones who actually will be in the front row of the dynamic, so they will be used to continue actually the different sort of control of the perpetrator. So quickly they will try, like we were saying, by using technology, air tags. For example, if there's an exchange about, for example, the children on a Saturday morning, well, he's going to be, wanting her to have, he's going to be wanting him to have a hand on the bag, so she's going to be taking the bag. So just to show her that I'm still there, I won't leave you, and it's not finished. I told you that if, for example, you would take the kids, I will, make your life really awful and bad. Threats about killing himself, so she's going to be feeling responsible of it. Taking the kids with him. Sexual abuse, so laughing about, for example, if they have teenagers, denigrating them about how they feel about the separation. So using every single moment with the children, and we see that also with the children. Like we had a young man, 24 years old, who came in the shelter with his mom, and I mean he was playing. The dad was playing still with an adult. Finally, so obviously the judicial violence will be used like all the time for that. So it's really, and obviously the child and mother sabotage. He will really try to make sure that they will not be having a good relationship. Feeling her that she's not a good mom, but also playing with the kid's mind to make sure that they will pursue the control and, insult and denigrate their mom. Which is important. So if you actually see a woman which she's scared, paralyzed, she doesn't actually know what to do, it's really important to evaluate the risk, as we were saying, because we really don't want any more femicide. We also see filicide. I don't know if it's how you say it. For example, a man will kill the woman and their children because he wants overpower over them. So if you're worried for someone, you can tell her, say, I am worried about that. So after, if we meet with her, we will say we are worried for that. So she will slowly try to understand what's the reality of the situation, and always put a safety net on her, and always without judgment and at her pace. It's really, really important.
Yeah, basically we want you to let her know you're there. That you understand that if ever she needs anything, there is someone there who will listen. And the more that something is said to her, it goes in. It's not like she will listen. She might not make the decision that you want her to make, but she understands that she hears it, and the more she hears it, the more she'll
get ready,
and then maybe leave.
Never underestimate the help that you actually gave her. She will take it when she's going to be feeling that it is the good moment.
Yeah. So saying something is worth it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if there is, I would imagine if there's a legal determination of domestic violence, does the father still have access to the children?
Yes. It's really, we don't see that often that he doesn't have any access. Even I've seen I think it's the last year, he actually almost killed her, and he actually a few months later had access with supervision, the children, which is in Quebec, it's a law when you're a parent that you have this type of situation that you can see and be in contact with the kids.
Which is why the kids are used a lot, because that's the one gateway to keep contact. because you have to keep contact with your abuser in order to take care of the kids. The goal would be to just talk about the kids, right? But that's the opportunity to then slip in little comments or, oh, you know, I miss you. Do you want to, you know, go out for coffee and we'll just discuss the kids? And then, you know, you give in a little bit, you end up at the coffee shop and maybe another incident happens. You know, it's, once the relationship is over and you split up with the kids, you have to be very aware of those strategies, which is something that we work on a lot. And understanding and figuring out the text messages that are sent. What is the underlying meaning of these things? To better prepare the woman and to set her up for success, and to ultimately have the kids not be involved in the drama. You know?
Which is why a lot of women will actually wait that the children will be older teenagers, so they can speak for themselves and protect themselves before leaving. Because like I was saying early on, it's hard for a woman thinking that she's not going to be able to protect her children, for example, a week or every weekends. So she will prefer stay in the relation and control a small part of control she can get. Yeah.
So what happens in those situations where the father does still have custody, if there's no supervision or whatever, and he is using the kids? Isn't there, you know, something that they have to go about, you know, taking action to protect the children?
Yeah, what we try to do is to document everything. So everything, all communications about the kids in writing, either text messages, emails, preferably not on the phone. I know you can record. As long as you're a part of the conversation, it's legal to present, but it's a lot easier to have everything recorded. We also do a lot of like post and pre, like a family journal. So like every time the kids go for the weekend, everything you send, everything that was said, and then when they come back, analyze what are the kids' behaviors, how do they react, to kind of set a standard for what is being said and what is being done on the weekends, you know, that you don't have the kids. It's hard to prove, but that's kind of the only way, is to document everything, and then once you have enough information to present it and to see what can be done clearly. But the partner has the right to see their kids and to parent their kids in the way that they see fit.
And it's when we have a lot of documents that we go with different professionals. For example, the youth protection. So when we have that, I mean, she can also call them and see, I'm really worried about my children on that. So that's going to be something else. So that's why we really want coercive control to get criminalized, because actually it will make a difference for that type of custody.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that there are also apps for parents that we can pay for, but that helps to document if you're not supported also, but you can do it through that app. It's also a communication app that there are some differences of that, but that can keep all the messaging, and that also you can, if you communicate with the other parent that's violent, the other person cannot change, because you know usually with iMessage, so it's legally safer to use those kinds of apps, because even if you keep a text message, you have to prove that it's the original and you change it after or she. So there are some apps that are more secure in those kinds of situations, to communicate with the other parent, but also to keep a record of every communication.
And that's why I said, like, the technology, it's good actually to help women going through that type of situation. The fact is that the perpetrator are also good, and they're really a smart person. I'm still looking for the university who are making these type of men, but I didn't find it, because they are smart in the way they will change their strategy. They know these type of app, exist. And they know
IP addresses to not be tracked, to not use apps to change the phone number. So yes, you're being harassed, but you cannot prove who it is that's calling. So there's no consequences. Did you have a question?
Yeah, you've done a great job in showing the many factors that feed into coercive control. And as you mentioned, that it's become a punishable within the criminal justice system in Australia and UK and so on.
Yeah.
But also, there have been very few cases brought to court because of the issues of how many factors feed into it, and it's not always physical. So how do you intend to, with the hope that it will be criminalised here, advise women to navigate the criminal justice system with coercive control?
Documentation of everything. Try to, obviously within like a 15-year relationship, there's a lot of things that have happened. But to try and recall all the things that have happened, just like we've done trainings with the police too, to show them how to document an incident report, taking into account the whole picture, the whole situation. So not just we came here on a call, for like public intoxication or something. Turns out it's a whole other issue. To have all of that documented, I feel like is the best way, because everything is so hidden and so secret. What you see is when it's already so bad and too much. Really, it's just have them call and get information and know what's going on, know what they're living through.
I just came from Australia, and they were actually saying that it's easier to document coercive control now that they know how to write down, and every detail they can put into it, and it's easier for the judge afterwards to say, well, obviously, he's asking for the money, what she spent at Tim Hortons, or so it's easier for them to do that. The thing is that right now we are, since 2-3 years, training all the court system with le regroupement, so that they know before the police officers, and they are also trained, by the way, so that all the person that will be involved in the declaration, all the the process that the woman will actually be going through, will know. So there was a case actually, a police officer wrote down that there was a bowl for food, for dog food and everything. And actually, he actually thought after he left, and he went to the office and said, well, I didn't even see a dog or a cat. So finally, he went back, but she was the one eating in that
From
bowl.
the dog bowl.
So stuff like that, and after the lawyer saw something else because she told something, so everything actually corroborate together, making it really clear that there was actually coercive control. So that's why we're training everyone before that it is criminalized, so it's going to be easier for everyone, and it's going to show the movie, the old movie. So I know that
They'll know the questions to ask. They'll know how to pry information, because it's not the woman who wants to say everything that's going on, and so
remember.
Yeah.
But as for navigating the court system, is it you guys who are doing that and have to be super familiar with all the laws, or is that the police, or do you guys have a court liaison worker?
No, that's us.
Yes, that's
Okay, you guys have to be really up to date.
Yeah, we're up to date on immigration, on
Right now, for the average person to truly understand
Yes.
what they're going to be going through.
Yeah, and
what
once-
law means.
if
Me,
it's
as an average person, I might not understand
and it's
all
hard.
the big words.
And it's always changing the laws also, that's the thing. The rules inside the laws, how it process and everything, so we try to make us,
And dog reviews might not want to work with the police for them
Exactly.
to help you and prepare you before, and to know if they even have the capacity or the time for police to even do that. So I
Well, they
just
have
wanted to
they have CAVAC, which is once there's a criminal proceedings, then usually you're referred to CAVAC, and that will be an interventionist that will explain to you, let's say, the whole court system, prepare you for going to court. We are there, yes, informationally, but we're also there to support you mentally.
Okay.
So the fact that you have to go to court, that you have to maybe see your perpetrator, that you maybe have to, the whole psychological background of having to go through that.
And then do you
Which
guys
is hard to go to
have,
court.
for the representation, like, do they have to get their own lawyer? Do you guys assist with social,
When you're the victim and you're going
Yeah,
through
you're
that,
and you're going through, do they have to be responsible for finance and their own lawyers? Or like you have to check into if they qualify for, not the social assistance, what's it called? Legal aid.
yeah, exactly.
Like if they can get
Legal aid.
Yeah.
You guys do that as well?
We do.
Okay.
That's why we're tired.
Every program imaginable, we will try and put them in there. There's also EVAC
Yeah.
that will help them financially. So if you have any expenses, medical expenses. I've had people who have had like a psychological evaluation, and the doctor says that they could benefit from a support animal. And I've had EVAC pay for the training of an animal to then have a support animal. So there's a lot of resources.
Also, all the system for security system, cameras at your new place and everything. And in
It's
fact,
paid
you
for.
don't need to have made a declaration to the police.
Yeah.
And for feedback, say there's a working mother, and she's a single mom, and she doesn't qualify for legal aid because she's a working mother.
Yeah.
Then would she be able to go through feedback?
Not necessarily for that.
Like legal fees, you know what I mean?
They won't take on legal fees, but there is there is other ways that you can get money that you can then put on for legal aid. That's a tricky thing. A lot of people can fall into where they don't qualify for certain things because they make a little too much money,
Yeah.
right? They can't not work, just like with housing. So subsidized housing and all of that stuff, there's certain limits, which is what I see a lot because now I'm working at the second stage, which is our apartments. And a lot of people will have a job but not make a little bit too much money, so not qualify. So we're trying to work in partnership with other people to get apartments that are subsidized without going through the subsidy system.
We're like magician of the different tools we can make to make it possible for them.
Yeah, so there's a lot of obstacles. So we help them through all of those obstacles. So every legal, psychological, medical, someone who's immigrated here that maybe doesn't have a residency, doesn't have a RAMQ, and, is pregnant and has a baby, that's a big bill. Who's gonna pay for that? There's a lot of different resources, but there are criterias. Do you enter into certain criterias? So it's a lot of research. It's a lot of talking to people, trying to, tell everyone their story and get a little something from someone, to like make up for it. But it can be a big financial burden to leave a relationship like that, especially if he's using judicial violence. Right? So like every email that a lawyer sends, that's money. Every phone call, every missed court date, all of that adds up. And it's intentional. It's intentional so that you get so exhausted that you don't want to deal with it anymore and you're just going to give whatever they want. Okay, I just want a deal. I'm done. It's never done.
Absolutely no money, and they can't even.
Yeah.
Or he's gonna, for example, go see all the lawyers on the territory that accept, for example, legal aid mandate.
Yeah.
And so she's not gonna be able to take one of the lawyers
because that would be like conflict of interest.
Right.
So she's gonna be needed to go further. So the transportation, so the inaccessibility of that. So it's really, and that's intentional.
Yeah.
I know you had a question too.
Yeah, have you had, I'm sure you must have, but situations where they were actually not able to provide any type of hard proof in a sense, and how do you go about that situation? Because you don't go into a relationship thinking, I'm going to document everything just in case.
No.
And by the time it gets to a point where you feel like you need to reach out for help, I don't want to say it's too late to start documenting things, but sometimes by that point,
It's hard.
had enough.
Yeah.
So how do you go about that type of situation.
So something that's criminal?
Well, it could be,
Or-
but
okay.
there's no evidence to prove. You know, you can't just arrest them and take them to court or whatever, but, you know, someone is having these difficulties they're dealing with, you know.
Well, legally, your testimony is evidence.
It's evidence, yeah.
So regardless of if you have proof like text messages or whatever, your own testimony is proof.
Or photo of what happened, or if you've been sexually abused. I mean, you can go and testify, and it's your voice.
Yeah.
And they will take the declaration.
That does not mean that you will go through the whole, like they'll take on that case, go through the whole process, and that he'll be accused of, you know, whatever it is. But the fact of you saying something, being understood, being believed, is a success in and of itself.
So you would continue to work with them in those cases?
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Yes.
just kind of?
Yes.
Even if a woman
Yeah.
doesn't go through the legal
A
process.
lot of women don't want to go, they don't want to go through the hassle, they don't want their partner to get arrested, to lose their job, to all of that. We're not there to judge or to tell you what is best. You know what's best in your life. You understand that the relationship that you've been in, is this going to be that step too far? We're not here to judge. We're here to give you all the information. This is how it works. This is how you can do it. What do you want to do? Is this what you want to do? We will go through it with you. If you don't want to do it,
It's fine.
it's fine.
And a lot of women actually just call us and we listen and we validate and we just say, well, this is the information. They call us back 2-3 months later. Oh, that's new, blah, 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 blah. Okay, what do you want to do? Or sometimes, oh, I returned in the relation. Okay, it's fine, so you know we're there. So any woman who actually just have a question, want to talk, or just, so ventilate, how do you say
Yeah.
it? Like ventilate?
Yeah.
Like about their situation, it's fine. She doesn't need to use our services to go to the legal
Every
part.
conversation will give her more information, more insight in understanding what's happening. So I see it as a win anytime someone calls.
Yeah.
Regardless of what is said, regardless of what happens afterwards, you already kind of feel, you're calling in because you feel like something's wrong.
You're
So you
taking
want
power.
someone to say, I believe you. You know, this is what happened. Maybe your whole life you've never been believed. Things have happened. You've tried to say that something has happened. Your mom, your uncle was like, oh no, you're lying, you're a liar, you're just, you know, and then you kind of integrate that into your being, so you don't want to say anything, you don't want to do anything. So our goal is to have everything come out into the light, for you to have all the information,
All the tools.
all the tools, and then you're the one that's best placed to make the best decision for you.
And you actually know the perpetrator more than anyone.
Exactly. I'm just
So-
hearing stories, right? You know, I can explain, oh, this little comment, this dynamic, this thing, you know, might lead to this, but what is it that he does every time, you know, he says this? So then, you know, they'll explain the situation. I'll be like, well, maybe that's a little scarier because now it's every time, you know? So I'm there to clarify things, you know, to see the little things that maybe you don't see because you're so involved. There's love involved in a relationship, right? Like you want the other person to love you and want to be with you. There is that sense of loyalty in a relationship as well. You don't want them to get hurt, go to jail, all of that stuff. So it's hard when you're in it, which is why like someone on the outside that can see can help you see the little things that you don't want to see with your heart.
And like you actually said early on, nobody here would get involved in a relation that we know that is going to end by control. Nobody would
Yeah.
do that. So you love that man. It's not always control. There's not always control everywhere or abuse.
Yeah.
So makes it harder actually to leave. So quickly, this is the cycle of violence. So like we said, there's always the tension. We don't know actually what's going on. She feels like scared but doesn't know exactly what's going to happen. After there's the abuse, So different manifestation is possible. After the excuses, justification, so it will always justify its manifestation as form of violence, abuse by external factors, job, whatever, alcohol, whatever, and after there's always the honeymoon. The promise, I will change, it's not going to be always like that, I promise you I won't do that anymore.
Buying gifts, saying nice, it's almost like a love bombing situation sometimes. Where so many compliments, so many things that you're like, oh, things are better, things are great, and then the tension kind of starts again, and you're sort of like, oh, something else is going to happen, and the more you're in the cycle, the less the honeymoon phase happens,
and more it's harder to leave.
Yeah,
because you're stuck into that. So how breaking the cycle of violence? Obviously, do not accept that type of behaviors. Talk to a friend, ask questions, call us, and we will see what's going on in your relation. Break this cycle safely. We're there to support you, and never accept any abuse, behavior of control. So everyone actually has a role to play in that type of situation. It's a friend, a mom, whatever. We actually have
a lot of phone calls from people who are like, oh, I think my daughter is going through this, I'm not sure, or my best friend said this to me and now I don't know what to do. Or so like our hotline too is a way for people to kind of get information from the outside. How can I help this person? What should I do? What should I say?
And we also have at the end we have a QR code, so that brings you to our website. We have a video capsule video in English and French, information into 4 languages, Russia, Spanish, English, and French. So there's a lot of information you can go and get to make you a clear idea of what is actually going on for you, but also for a friend, a family member. So this is like how you can welcome somebody, a friend, like I was saying, how you can respect the rhythm and the pace of that person, but also giving her the information, believe her, reassure the victim, listen to her. Is it a good moment? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to go get information for you? Take a stand and say, this is unacceptable. This is not a good relation. This is it's not respect. I mean, somebody who loves you will never treat you like that. So really say the words that so she can actually be validated in how she feels about that.
And even if initially she is like, she doesn't want to hear it, right? She's still integrating it, right? So she might yell at you, she might say, you don't understand, and you know, the fact that you are still there, she can still text you, and you are still a point of contact is success. Yeah.
It's a safety net, and we will show you our pencil. It's a magical pencil, you will see later on. So refer, obviously, to different, to the system, social system, to the shelter, SOS Violence Conjugale, which is a hotline 24/7 too. La Re-Source, we have that helpline too, so don't be shy. There's no question or bad question. We're here to help ourselves. And then always make sure if you think it's a risky situation, put the safety net on the woman and the children. This is a woman victim of domestic violence has the right to leave an abusive relationship, be helped in her situation, and live without violence because it is unacceptable. And this is our, we have Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We try to actually break the different alpha man rhythm, but it's not always easy. So you can have all the information. Thank you so much for your, for today. You were great.